Please give a warm welcome to writer-director Michel Franco, Peter Sarsgaard, and Jessica Chastain.
Hello.
What a nice welcome. Thank you, guys. Michel, I'm going to start with you. This film gives a spotlight to broken people. And I'm not talking just about the main characters. You showcase Alcoholic Anonymous, all these different characters that are broken. And I've never seen a film that puts, in the center, this type of characters that we tend to ignore in other films. Can you tell us about that approach?
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for this warm welcome. Thank you so much. And thanks for hosting us. I'm interested in broken people. When I watch a movie and it's about something that's ideal, I'm not interested, And when I'm writing a movie, I'm focused on people that are rarely seen. I like making movies about people that shouldn't be on screen. And what Jessica and Peter are representing here is people that are trying to be forgotten about or dismissed. And that's why I made Memory, about how these two mature people have an opportunity in life where they're supposed to be, I don't know if even dismissed, but just, stay home and don't do anything.
But it's not just the two of them. Every character we meet, from the opening scene, the Alcoholic Anonymous group, Jessica's family, everybody seems to,
Yeah, thanks for saying that. The AA group, it's a real group. They're not actors. And yeah, the film's about broken people from that scene. They're not actors. It's a real meeting. And I think most people try to pretend that they're living like great, perfect lives. That's what social media is all about, and the world we're living in is very fake. And this movie is the opposite, but it's the opposite, but it's a real thing. It's a real deal. We're all into a lot of trouble, and the fact that these two characters are going through dementia and everything that Jessica's characters went through means that people surrounding them are also troubled and, wrong in many ways. But that's life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Peter, congratulations on your Best Actor win at Berlin. I mentioned to you that what I loved about your performance is that I'm used to seeing films that characters have dementia, but then that's where they're playing. Instead, you give us a full-fledged character that happens to have dementia. Can you tell us about your approach to that?
Well, obviously, dementia is just his condition. It's just the obstacle that's in his way for pursuing the things that he wants, trying to live his life. I'd say not just the dementia is an obstacle, but the way the people around him are starting to act after he's been diagnosed with dementia. My uncle had dementia, and he passed away during COVID. And he had CTE, which is from playing football. And he was a very, very special person to me in my life. So it's not like I knew about dementia because I knew about Bubba or because I talked to people who had dementia before I did the movie. It's the thing that was most important to me is I was creating a guy who had an enormous need who had experienced love deeply in his life, and that person had gone away. And so he had an enormous empty container that needed to be filled in some way. And he's on lockdown. His brother's moved into his house. He's been stripped of all agency. And this is an opportunity.
And Jessica, I mentioned to you as well that I have never seen a portrayal of trauma on screen where you physicalize. I mean, we don't need to hear that she's traumatized. We actually see in the way she locks the door, the way she walks into the room, and she's constantly protecting herself. Can you tell us about, physicalizing the trauma in the character?
Well, I spent so much time before we got on set understanding what her life was. And I had to, in understanding all the secrets that she would have that I would never mention during the movie. I would never mention to Peter's character. We never talked about it, but I had to know things like how her daughter was conceived. Did she even know how her daughter was conceived? What was her lowest day before she decided to get sober? What did her father smell like? What movie would be playing on TV? All of these things that would be so real for her. And then by the time I got on set, I never thought about it again because she wouldn't be walking into a room thinking about it. But because I think I had worked on it, I didn't realize how it physicalized in my body until after I saw the movie. Wow. I didn't realize, like in the intimate scene when they're together, I didn't make a choice to blink so much or, like to have these things. And then when I saw the scene, I was like, oh, wow. I think there's something that happens, and it changes from film to film, but it's like the character grows inside you, and she grew inside me, and it's like she takes over, and I'm not even really sometimes aware of what's happening.
So you weren't aware that, I watch a lot of details in film, the fact that she starts letting her guard down as she interacts with Saul?
Well, I mean, I was aware in because I do make choices in terms of costumes and hair and makeup, and, I went to Target and I got a lot of Sylvia's costumes and took pictures.
So you didn't have a costume
We did.
person?
No, we had a costume designer, but also the great thing, Michel suggested I do it, and I was happy to do it. We worked together to kind of create it, but every choice was made. Like, her hair's mostly in a top knot, but at the reunion it's down because she's not going to wear a dress to the reunion, but she doesn't want her sister to give her a hard time. So if her hair's down, her sister will think that she made some kind of an effort. That's enough of the effort. Then at the park scene, the hair's down again because that's when he followed her and recognized her, and now she's going to catch him, So she wants to create something in him to remind him of how she looked at the reunion.
And I just trust Jessica because she would approach me and say, "Okay, on this scene, I'm gonna have my hair down." I'm like, "Okay," but it wasn't a dismissal. Okay, like whatever. It's like, I know you know what you're doing. We shot in order, in chronological order, and that helped, I guess, to.
Yeah. But even the idea of the clothing, it's unisex clothes for the most part until they start to be physical. And then in some sense it was the first time, then you see my character all of a sudden in jeans.
You were in full control.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I knew there was, I think costumes are really important in how a person's presenting themselves to the world. And someone who doesn't want their body to be seen makes a choice to wear clothes that doesn't show their body. But
Correct.
Those kind of things I was aware of. The physicality, I didn't really even think about.
Well, but it's there. Michel, when I introduced the film, I talked. I hope you weren't offended, but I talked about your immersive process of filmmaking. I talked about the lack of coverage in the film, the long takes. Can you tell us about the importance of those techniques to tell this story?
I think it's linked to what we were saying. I give the actors a lot of power, you know, they're in charge. And they have a lot of responsibility too. They have to make it good because I cannot fix it on the editing. If it's not good while we shoot it, there's nothing to do because what you just saw is mostly the actors doing their thing. Of course, the script has to be ready for that. And the main reason to work this way is because when I'm watching a movie, I don't like when I'm sitting on a theater to be told, you should be feeling this with, you know, because there's a piano or a violin, and look at the close-up, you know, you should be looking here, no, now look there. I hate that, you know, it's patronizing. So I like making a movie where you have a lot of space to make up your minds about what you're watching and have the movies happening on the audience behalf.
The most spectacular moment in the film, for me, is the scene where it's the long take where everybody's on screen and, you know, we find out what happened and we watch everybody's reaction. Was that planned on your regard, or?
I was very nervous that day, very nervous. I knew that if that scene wouldn't work, the whole film would be, you know, a failure. But I just treated like we did every scene on the film, which means the first thing in the morning I tell the actors, show me what's in your mind. Let's not rehearse it because I shoot the rehearsal, but just do it for me and the cinematographer, and we'll see how to frame it. But maybe on that day we did less than that.
No, I remember that day specifically because you said to me, how far would you get into the room? Because you were trying to figure out where the scene would go. And you said, where? And I said, as soon as I see her, I'll stop. Like, there's no, and then you were like, let me figure out how to shoot it in the door.
It's all about the truth. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me that. It's so, yeah. I asked Jessica, what would Sylvia do? And Sylvia wouldn't, you know, as soon as she notices that the mother is there, that's it. So then the cinematographer tells me, come on, control your actors. And I tell him, I don't want to control them. I want to make it real. Because the audience is as wise as the actors. All the technical bullshit goes to the drain, you know, and it's anecdotic, you know, it's like nobody will remember the reasoning behind it. It has to be truth and real. So that's how it happened. Yeah.
And Peter, how did you feel about the fact that there's no coverage, that you guys are?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, for me, well, if you're acting with someone like this, then you know.
Like this?
Yeah. No, you know.
Not just, you know, Mary Weaver and.
No, the whole cast, the ensemble was so ready and so game. I mean, the danger of shooting like this is if someone does some intolerable mistake, whatever that would be, that was unusable for the movie, you're stuck with it, even if the other part of the scene went well. So I like high stakes as an actor. I like opening night, act one, scene one, walk out on the stage. It creates that a little bit for you, right? There's no safety net. So it feels like, my friends and I used to say this when we were kids, when we were playing like games out in the yard, we would go, your life is your life, no do-overs, okay? If you die, you're dead. You don't have 5 lives, you have 1 life. That's, for me, that's like when acting gets great. No do-overs, your life is your life.
And on that same note, the lack of vanity in both of your performances, you know, you're hot, but in this movie, you're not. But in this movie, you're not. You're like, what happened to the Peter Sarsgaard that I know? It's like, you're overweight and the beard, and there's a lethargic quality to you.
I think it's a matter of taste. Listen, I had herniated a disc, if anyone knows what that feels like.
That's the excuse.
Yeah, that's the excuse. Like a year before, and as I met you, I was like in the worst shape of my life for me, and I said, I'm gonna I told you, I was like, I'm gonna lose some weight, and he's like, oh, no. It's really good the way it is. So I don't need to be told that twice, so I started eating more. And yeah, I actually felt really good about the way I looked in it.
It was actually wintertime in New York when we met, and I told him, don't show up with a six-pack or anything like that, because I know he's a marathon runner and all that. And he said, don't worry. And it's wrong, but I went far. I said, show me, and in the
first meeting, we're walking around. We've been walking for like 2 hours talking about all kinds of things. I feel like I have the job. Show me your stomach. Not a six-pack.
Michel, I'm curious. I've told you what a big fan of your movies. Recurring in your films, you showcase caregivers. Can you tell us the importance of that?
Well, I said before that I'm interested in broken people, but caregivers are way beyond that. They're humble people, loving people, like with superpowers that are dedicating their lives to making the end of other people's lives, or just people with a certain condition better, and they never get the attention they deserve. So why not show it on movies? And like you say, it's not the first time.
And Jessica, tell us about the scenes that were shot with caregivers. You actually spent a lot of time with them, and
yeah, I didn't realize. I was familiar with Michel's work, but I didn't realize how immersive it would be. The very first day of showing up, we shot in chronological order, and the first day being an actual AA meeting, and not realizing what I was walking into, and then realizing I need to be as authentic as possible because my feet are to the fire. I don't want to look like the actor in the room, when everyone's being so open and vulnerable and generous. And the same thing with the adult daycare center. Those people lived there, and they were the residents, and my coworkers worked there. And so I would show up for work, basically, and Michel would film, and I would serve lunch and play games and prepare medication in the kitchen.
We shot a lot of stuff.
Yeah, days there, helping people choose their clothes or get to the bus, or so there are scenes when I come in, like at the end, I go, "Hey, Rick, have a good day." I mean, that's Rick. It's really the residents there, and so it's beautiful as an actor when you get to work on a film where you really feel like you have become one in one with the story.
That's amazing. But I'm watching the film, and I have to bring it up, and it's kind of shallow question, but the fact you had just won the Oscar, and then all of a sudden you're in this no frills, no trailer, no makeup, independent production. Why?
A big difference between Tammy Faye makeup and this makeup.
I mean, why was it compelling to you?
Well,
you could have had anything. You could have done this Marvel Universe movie.
I could have made so much money.
And instead...
No, I mean, this is what I love to do. And I love working with artists and creating stories that I would want. I'm an audience member first, and I love going to the cinema and seeing these kind of stories. And I love Michel's work. And so it felt like a no-brainer. I didn't even think that it was strange doing something like this. Michel was a bit nervous the first time we Zoomed. He was quite strict with me. He was like, "There's no trailers." It's like, okay. No, you're not going to have anyone doing your hair. Fine, no problem. And then he was looking at me and hadn't smiled yet, and he goes, "Do you really want to do this movie?" I was like, yes, I do. It's like he couldn't believe it, but I was so happy. I felt very lucky to be a part of it.
Well, Michel, whiter shade of pale recurs throughout the movie. Can you tell us a little bit about the choice and the importance of that?
It's one of the best songs ever. I love it. And it's got this melancholic, nostalgic feeling, because of the melody that's based on Bach, air on a G string. But also something important is that the lyrics don't make any sense. Or people throughout the years have been trying to make sense out of the lyrics. I would never choose a song that's like, I love you or whatever, and put it on the credits and throughout the film, because that's explaining, again, it's patronizing the audience. So I don't know, it's just it's the best song, and it's very expensive too for a movie with no trailers.
Well, there's also really beautiful, I mentioned that my dad suffered dementia, and music to him was so important.
Oh yeah. Sorry for missing that. You're absolutely right. Music is a very important element to. When Peter says, "My wife wanted a piano," not a piano, a Hammond, right?
Hammond organ.
Yeah.
If anyone's ever seen a Hammond organ, it would take up most of the stage, You need a little Leslie on the side and everything. And for me, the song was my wife. Like when I'm playing the song, I'm living what my wife was. But one of the things I like about the film and the song, and the fact that this guy never has music in any of his movies of any kind. And it's all pretty much diegetic in this. I'm playing it and you're hearing it. But the song has a different meaning at the beginning to me than it does at the end of the movie. It's like the song gets transformed with the movie, and you can, like the way that a musical has a theme, and then you come back and she sings "Funny People" one more, or whatever it is. People's people. What's the Barbra Streisand one?
People
Thank
who
you.
need people.
That you
are
just
the
got to come back and sing it
luckiest
one more time.
people in the world.
I'm listening to her read the book. It's changing my day every day.
No.
Yeah, but to me, the song really, that is the meaning of it for me. So, and like I said, my wife for me in this movie is like a significant character.
There's a gorgeous trajectory in this film where you have somebody who cannot deal with her past, who meets somebody who sees her the way she is, and ironically, he cannot recall the past. And you guys find common ground as we go along. Did you guys talk about the trajectory of your relationship, or you just played it as it was?
We didn't speak.
Not at all. No, it sounds like a joke, but it's true. Actually, we got to know each other more after the film.
I always talk
ended.
separately with Jessica. We spoke a lot about the script, Jessica and I did the same with Peter, and they never talked between them ever.
Good morning, Jess. Good morning, Peter.
It wasn't like a planned thing. I think it was just for me, and it's different for other love stories I've done. Like George and Tammy, she's so social. I was so social on set. This character was so solitary, and she really didn't want to connect to anyone. So I spent most of my time, I would arrive on set and I would kind of hide for a while until they would call me to shoot, and then the camera would start. And then we'd look at each other's eyes, and because we shot in chronological order, it was like every scene was like, can I trust you? What are you thinking about me?
Like, I happen to be a locksmith. Hang on one second.
And so we were able to build it, and it just made it easy. It made sense to me for the character in that way.
And because you were like that, it really heightened my need. I was like, I'm just wondering if I maybe can just sit here next to you for a minute. And like I felt like, I've said this a few times, I felt like Pepe Le Pew, if you guys remember.
He's been canceled,
Rightly, but like.
And what was it walking away the last time you guys were together? Was it closure, or you were able to just walk away?
I'm really I guess it's either good or bad at goodbyes. I make them very brief, you know. So I think we were like 10 feet away, and I just went like that, and I walked away. You know, I don't like the end. I don't want to do it.
But the end was very special. We were shooting at the subway, and when I said
Which is the first, it's at the beginning of the movie.
no, not that scene. We went to the subway, into the subway several times because it was always without a permit, of course. So this was for additional beats, or I don't.
Additional that you needed in the edit.
Yeah, like because like 20 or 30% of what you saw on screen, there are reshoots. We shoot in chronological order, and we go back to all the locations, and whatever wasn't like not even good, but if we can make it better or more interesting, we shoot it again.
Or even an additional scene.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like for example, when Peter says, "Can I write it on my notebook?" That's Peter's idea. So I'm like, "Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's shoot it." So we're shooting on the subway the very last night, and when I say that's a wrap, Jessica's face, it's like a exorcism, you know. Suddenly I see Jessica again. Sylvia's gone. Like I've never seen something like that, anything like that in my life. Well, not true. We shot another movie, Jessica and I, last summer, and again something strange happened. Not a transformation, but she broke down and cried. You know, I wonder when we shoot the next one, what's gonna happen. But and then a musician on the subway started playing music. It was like a celebration. All of a sudden on the subway, you don't remember that? You remember?
Yes, he wasn't on the subway. It was in the part where you wait.
No, inside of the
Okay.
yeah.
Well, no, obviously I don't remember.
There you go. Peter, men are always slower. You were still in character. But yeah, it was very special that the end of the shooting.
Michel, I love your relationship with your DP, and the one scene that I just adore is where we first see Peter, Saul's character, and she is at the party scene, and he's out of focus, slowly making his way towards us. It's gorgeously staged and filmed. Can you tell us about how you guys arrive at that moment?
My cinematographer and I, he's called Yves Cape. We shot 6 or 7 movies together. I never think of anyone else. And he's always concerned about the narrative and about the actors and not about the light or, not about superficial stuff. Having said that, it looks gorgeous, so he's a magician. So when we shot that scene, he understood very clearly that the focus, the range where Peter could move was important to see him but not give it away to the audience entirely, and to be with Jessica but still, like to be with her meant to see the whole situation. So I don't know, he's just very clever at highlighting what needs to be seen without having to cut. So Eve is, I wouldn't want
what
to.
What I love about your approach and Eve's is that there's an ambiguity to where we're watching. It's left, you leave it for us to figure and decipher things out.
Hopefully there is an ambiguity, which is the life, what happens in life, If you and I go to a coffee shop tomorrow and we're enjoying our day and something strange happens outside of the coffee shop, you will have a very different version of what happened, and I will, and the people that are outside will see it differently. And that's hard to achieve on film.
Yeah.
Normally it is what it is. And
right.
Eve and the actors it's mainly for me, it's about the actors and the cinematographer. The rest, I'm very respectful too, but are secondary.
Mm-hmm. And Jessica, I've sang his praises, but I'd love to hear, what is it about Michel that is so special about working
what is
with?
It, Jessica? Turn on your camera.
And then we'll hear from Peter too.
Well, I always joke, it's funny because he said it's the actors and DP and all that everything else is secondary, because I always joke that I'm trying to protect the screenwriter from the director when we're on set, because he's both. And he's constantly, what's so beautiful about Michel is he writes a flawless script. It's so complicated and exciting and interesting. And then we get on set and he kind of goes, yeah, I don't like this scene. Or we need to rethink this. And I was like, no, please, you've done something really amazing. Let's just try shooting what you wrote, and then we can also add to it. He's so in the moment. You know, I've worked with directors who are gripping so tightly to an old idea, or this idea of like, I need to look like I have control over everything, that they kind of killed the life. He allows mistakes to happen, and he allows what's in front of him to show up, and he's so open to it. And I think that's beautiful, because cinema really is about capturing the authenticity of what's happening right now, and not maybe something that you thought about a year ago when you wrote it. So that's the beautiful thing about him, is he's incredibly in the moment, and an incredibly authentic person.
And Peter, what do you like about this guy?
What do I like about this
Besides
guy? What do
his
I not
hair.
like about this guy? This guy's my friend. That's, you know, and it's such a pleasure to work with people that, like, I've said this, but like, even if you speak in a whisper, they hear you. Like, I felt like I didn't need to talk about what I was doing. I just needed to do it, and you would take it in. You would witness it. I knew I had a pair of eyes that knew what they were doing, an intuitive person. It's very hard. You would joke that if Maggie came to set one day and you were like, oh, something happened to your acting. And I think that's because I knew I had two of you really taking me in, two people that I was positive would really listen. And, you know, for me, I've performed in environments where I didn't have that, and I just find it impossible. It's like, you know no one's listening, so you stop talking like that. And so it is such a gift to act for this man. Like the way he films, what he values in the edit, where he puts the emphasis. It's very brave to make a movie like this. This is not like, you know, somebody who's trying to make a small movie that hits the big time and makes it so you can go direct a Marvel movie, you know, yet, right? Yeah. Okay.
Never, ever.
I'll add in that the empathy that Michel, you bring to cinema and to the characters, is so moving. I don't recall seeing so much empathy for even the mother, you know, and the sister.
Great is Jessica Harper.
Yeah. Oh my God, where has she been? Yeah, Mary Weaver. Every character you give so much empathy to, and it's
Brooke Timber, the girl's great. Elsie Fisher.
Charles, yeah.
Just Charles is great. I try not to judge the characters. Even Jessica Harper's character,
I'll judge her all I want.
Yeah, I try to, you know. I think if while writing a dramatic script, every person that's in the room thinks they're right, it's more interesting than the good and the bad, you know.
Correct. Yeah. Well, guys, it's the best you've been. The two of you, Peter and Jessica, you've given us incredible performances. But Michel has brought the best out of you. And Michel, the best is yet to come. I look forward to your next film.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here
She's
tonight.
in it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.